94.3 The Dude is very grateful to our men and women in uniform. We're proud to recognize local members of our military by turning the spotlight on them right now in our Soldier Salute.
I'm your host, Sergeant First Class Retired Don Sorensen, and today on the Soldier Salute, we're speaking with U.S. Army Veteran Chris Varney. Chris, tell us about yourself.
Well, started off graduating high school in 92, almost straight into the military. Fort Benning for basic, AIT, and Fort Hood for a little while. Came back home, got into law enforcement. Roughly 4 years of that, I got injured, got away from law enforcement. I didn't think it was a good idea after the injury. And I got into dog training, and I have been loving it ever since. When you find a passion, it means the world to you. Got into dog training, and now I'm with Dog Training Your Home in Columbia. We also have a Myrtle Beach franchise as well. We own Horror County, Sumter County, Kershaw County, Richland County, and Lexington County franchise. It goes really good. We get a lot of referrals. We were voted the best in Columbia for the last 3 years running. And it's just a wonderful experience to be able to work with the dogs and the people that I have been working with, including yourself, Don.
So, Chris, what made you decide to join the military?
Well, my grandfather was in World War II. He retired military, retired U.S. Army. Nobody else in the family really followed that footstep. None of his kids, no other grandkids of his. So I felt like I needed the continued education. Didn't really have the money for that. Military was a great avenue to get that help to do the continued college education that I wanted. And I also felt was why I picked the Army, because my grandfather, and it really made him proud. He was the most proud of me doing it. Most of my family was shocked for me to go in the military, but he didn't seem too shocked about it. So I felt honored that he was proud of me for joining the military. And I mainly did it for the educational purposes, but also to make him proud.
Chris, back in 1998, you left the U.S. Army and you went straight into law enforcement. That seems like a pretty common move for a lot of military guys. Tell me about your experience.
Well, it wasn't much different, which is why I think that a lot of military guys do go into law enforcement, because the discipline that you have from military transcends to law enforcement. You need discipline most places. And, of course, my law enforcement background was the Department of Corrections. Being inside the prison, in my opinion, you got to have a lot more discipline inside the prison with convicted felons than being out on the streets as a police officer. I know it could be dangerous either way, but the ones inside the prison are already convicted felons. So the discipline helps with that from military going into law enforcement. And it was an easier transition because of the prior discipline and having that rigid background where this is how it has to be. The military prepares you to be ready for anything at all times. Law enforcement does the same.
So Chris, you were a U.S. Army veteran, then you went into the Department of Corrections. How did those two experiences prepare you to be a dog trainer?
Every life experience changes you from one to the next. Military, even though it has the background to get you prepared for law enforcement, military is different from law enforcement. And then law enforcement, to me now being a dog trainer, is different too. But the discipline is where you have to have, and you get that from the military. So when you start with that discipline, you can move to the discipline of law enforcement, and then having discipline with dog training. You need discipline with dog training because, like yourself, if you're really a lover of dogs, and we are, most military people love dogs, you have to have the discipline as a trainer to not give in to what a dog wants all the time, and have discipline to make them mind and listen and do the work. So you get that from that background of military to law enforcement and then the dog training. And my brother, working with him at the Department of Corrections, he was canine. So I got to see a lot of that before we got into working for Dog Training Your Home. And now he's a franchise owner.
Chris, I myself am a dog lover, and that seems to be kind of a theme with veterans. We love dogs. Why do you think that they fit so well together?
Well, I think that, coming from the military and going through experiences with the military, it changes you. Dogs have that unconditional love, and they want attention all the time, and we could never give a dog enough attention. I mean, you can love and pet on your dog 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's still not enough to that dog. They want it all the time. And the military people coming back from whatever they went through in military, it's comforting and supporting to have that dog there to take that burden, because the dog will feel how we feel. They'll sense our woes and our bad feelings, and they help take those things away because they are unconditional lovers and they want to please us. It helps the veterans, that have somebody like that, have something like that that will love them no matter what.
Chris, you actually have some experience training service dogs, don't you?
Absolutely. Over the years, you come across some dogs that are just natural for it. I came across a dog, it's been a few years ago. He was like a Rottweiler mix, Mason. I'll never forget him. The rescue that I help out, SQ Rescue, they had gotten this dog at a shelter in Horror County, as a matter of fact. He had already been through some training somewhere. I don't know the extent of his training, but I could tell he'd been trained. We had him in a foster home. The lady that was fostering him has blood sugar problems, but her blood sugar was real bad one day, and he was barking and circling her, barking at her. So she called me and telling me what he's doing, and I said, check your blood sugar? She said, yeah, it was kind of high. I said, well, that's what he's doing. She's like, he knows that? Yes, he does. Dogs have an instinct for stuff like that we need for like PTSD, which is why we use the dogs to help calm down somebody having an episode of whatever, reliving something. Even if you're not military, I mean, we all go through something. So the dogs can sense those things and comfort us. So when we do the training for it, all we really want to make sure is when you get the dog for that training, for that person, that person and that dog can bond. And when they do make that bond together, then the training will just go nice and smoothly.
Chris, someone in Columbia right now is thinking about going out and getting a dog. What advice do you have for them?
My advice is think about what you want first. I'm always going to say adopt, don't shop. Breeders are okay if they're going to breed for show dogs, but other than that, there's too many dogs in shelters and rescues all over the place. Don't just go get a puppy because it's cute and it's adorable, because 3-6 months later, it's going to be a real dog. Running around the house, jumping on everybody, knocking stuff over. And if you're not prepared to hire a dog trainer, whether it be the best, the dog trainer in your home, or a dog trainer in general, then you really should think twice about getting a dog. A dog is a commitment. To me, it's like a family member. When you get tired of your child destroying stuff and whatever the case may be, acting out, you're not going to get rid of your child. But people get rid of the dog. It's not fair to the dog. So I always say think about training first before you even get a dog. And then think about what kind of dog you want versus your lifestyle. The dogs, different breeds and different things can fit our lifestyles for what we want out of the dog. And if you find the right one, all you got to do is research. You can get all kinds of information about that breed of dog online, of course, and figure out what you really want. And always seek a dog trainer's advice. And, I just say think about the dog training first and then the dog.
Thanks for joining us in our Soldier Salute, presented by Little Pigs Barbecue. Serving Columbia since 1963 with that bodacious buffet. By Lexington Guns and Shooting Range. Veteran owned and operated. By Love Air Plumbing and Electrical. Love to help you love your home. And Dominion Energy. We depend on our servicemen and women, and they can depend on us.